Hello everybody and thank you for joining me. This is Sierra from Sierra T Designs and today I have an alcohol inked Leaf Fragments 5x7 card to share with you. So let's jump right in. So we are going to create the background and now bear with me, this card took a couple of turns in directions I had not planned it going. So we're going to do a little problem solving as we go and have to do some changes, but I think it turned out pretty neat in the end. So for the background, or in this case it's the leaves, I am using some black Yupo from Tim Holtz. I have the Tim Holtz blending solution, I have the air blower, and for the colors, I'm using Snowcap Mixative, which is the white you see me putting on to make the colors more vibrant. I have Sterling alloy ink for some extra shine, and then the two actual colors are they're ink pearls, and they're Opulent and Divine, which is the purple and the blue. And these are the newer pearl colors, so they are a bit more vibrant to start with as well, which, I mean, if you guys have been on my channel for a little while, you know how much I love vibrant colors, so I am kind of sucked into that. But so we worked really hard on this background. It sped up a lot. I think this background all in all took me about about 10 minutes, maybe 12 minutes to create, because honestly, I knew I was going to die cut it. So we're not trying to create something super specific as I would when I was trying to create a background. I knew that I was going to pick the parts that I loved and die cut those out. So that kind of gives me a little more freedom to play rather than kind of creating like a specific angle or a specific look. So I honestly just had a lot of fun with just laying down this Snowcap Mixative and then playing with my colors on top of it and just seeing kind of what we would create. And I love how this background turned out. I made an error though, and you're going to see it here really quick because I am going to die cut it. As you guys know, as I said, I wanted to die cut this. So I set the background aside to dry for quite a while. At this point, you can touch it and it's not tacky, it's not wet. So I thought I was good to die cut. However, I'm not. So I'm going to lose a bunch of that vibrancy when it goes through my Gemini. And I do use a magic mat and I do use Gemini Junior plates with my full-size Gemini. I just find it easier for room's sake. So I'm going to cut out the leaves, and this is the Leaf Fragments dies from Tim Holtz. And I cut out the leaves, and this one gets stuck, so I actually put it through again a second time because it didn't quite cut all the way as it was on the edge there, so it didn't quite hit the rollers. So I put it through a second time, no problem, didn't fuss around with it, and it came out perfectly. Now you are going to see that I'm going to have some transfer on my Gemini Junior plate there. It doesn't matter, easily comes up, washes, no problem whatsoever. I use either the 99% isopropyl alcohol to clean it up or rubbing hand like sanitizer is what I use. So you can use either and it will clean up perfectly. So here you can see I'm struggling to get it out of the leaf dye and it like ripped. I lost a bunch of color and I was like, okay, so we lost some of the vibrancy, no problem. I'm going to die cut them out of vellum and see if I can get some of that color to transfer onto the vellum. Now, my mistake here is that I think because vellum is very similar to Yupo, it didn't really transfer much. I think had I used a more porous cardstock, like an actual cardstock, I would have had more transfer. But I mean, it kind of created this neat shimmer on the vellum. Of course, you could have just used pearlescent vellum and gotten the same shimmer. But as I say, this card is a learning experience and we're kind of learning as we go. So I did cut out all 5 of the leaves again out of the heavy weight vellum. And then now I'm cutting down a background. Sorry, this is hard to see. My 12x12 trimmer doesn't really fit on camera well, which is why I don't use it very often. But if I make a 5x7 card, I find that it's the easiest way to cut my base and my mat and all the layers and whatnot. So my first layer that you just saw me cut there was 6 1/4 by 4 1/4 inches. And then this one here I'm cutting, which is my mat, it is going to be 6 1/2 by 4 1/2 inches. And this is silver matte cardstock by Simon Says Stamp. And then you can see here, I'm just going to show you my layering technique because you guys know I love a good layer. So I am going to bring in, this is the Tim Holtz Kaleidoscope 3D Texture Fade embossing folder. And I ran that through my Big Shot die cutting machine because I don't run embossing folders through my Gemini. And then I'm going to adhere all the leaves down. You saw that I kind of played with my layout. This is what I wanted it to look like. And I think that it turned out pretty neat, although it is fairly difficult on video and camera to see the vellum pieces, which, I mean, you're going to see them perfectly fine when I hold it up, but I think right here, like it's difficult for you to even really see them. And I kind of just layered them up. I did like an alcohol inked leaf and then a vellum leaf and then an alcohol inked leaf and then a vellum leaf. And I had some facing in and some facing out. And I did kind of just work on that kaleidoscope background piece. That is what I wanted my texture piece to be underneath, because you can kind of see it through some of the leaves. And I did put the glue straight on the vellum. No concerns. I mean, generally, you will be able to see it come through a little bit, but because the background is textured, I think that it really helps hide the glue as well. And then of course I'm going to bring in some bling at the end to hide it again even better. And I am just using some acrylic blocks. Here I have one, I'm going to bring in a couple. And I use that to hold the leaves down because the background is so textured. It doesn't really want to adhere, so you have to be aware that they're going to try to lift. So I just weighed them down with a bunch of acrylic blocks. And then for my sentiment, I wanted to use these label sentiment stickers that I've had for a while. It came in a Simon Says stamp kit a while ago, and I've never really used them. And I thought that it kind of fit this almost grunge-esque card, just with how it turned out. I mean, don't get me wrong, this isn't really grunge. There's no like brown or metallics or, well, there's a metallic, but there's no real like rust or, patina or anything like that. This is kind of my version of a grunge card because it's just a bit messy and a bit different for me personally. So I'm pretty in love with how it turned out, but we are going to have to play with some alcohol inks in here in a minute to get it to be a little more vibrant. I did stick the label sentiment sticker down on a piece of white cardstock. This was just so it was easier for me to adhere it because again, I have all that 3D folder texture, so I didn't want it to lift and fall off when I was trying to send it to somebody. And then I thought I wanted a white border around it, and in the end I decided I did not want a white border in it, so I'm going to trim it out with my scissors there. And then I played with the layout a little bit and decided in the end that I do want it to actually be 2 pieces instead of 1. I didn't like the long look for this. I thought it kind of looked odd on the card, so I just cut them separately. And I'm going to leave them black. I wouldn't change them here anyway, but because the black Yupo is there, we already have some black in the design. So I thought that it kind of worked with what we were going for. And I am going to use some thin 3D foam squares behind the sentiment. It just gives it a little bit of added depth and dimension. And so it stands up a little bit higher than everything else. Not that it's necessarily supposed to be the most eye-catching aspect, but I do want you to notice it. So that was just an added bonus to this specific card. And I love 3D foam squares, so I have a tendency to use them all the time. Now, I wish I had adhered my 3D embossed panel to my mat beforehand. I didn't because I have a heck of a time lining it up now with all those leaves hanging off. I can't tell where I should line it up to have it centered, so it does take me a little bit to kind of get it figured out. And had I known when I started this that I was going to leave the leaves on past that mat, I would have done that because there was no reason not to. But I didn't when I was building this. I mean, this card kind of took a few different design turns as I was making it. This is not actually what I intended to make when I first set this out, but I think that it turned out okay. And then I do put that panel and layer into my trimmer, and I'm just going to trim off all of the excess leaves that are hanging off. You could wait until you adhered it to the base. Part of me kind of wishes that I had, so that you would have had extra leaves and it would have looked even more like the leaves, but I didn't. So we're going to go with kind of what I decided to do here. And I did have to kind of like line it up with my finger along the bottom blade to even get this quite squared away. And honestly, they're not perfect. There are a few areas that are a bit wider than they necessarily should be, but I don't really think that that matters. So here, I was really sad that I had lost a lot of the vibrancy of the alcohol inks from when they went through my Gemini. So I decided to very carefully add a little bit of the 2 ink pearls, the Opulent and Divine, and a little bit of blending solution to kind of set them because they are pearls. I decided to just add a little bit back in on each of the colored leaves. You don't need to do this, and certainly don't if you're concerned. Honestly, I don't really think I minded if a little bit of ink got into the cracks of the leaves or into the fragmented areas. I had to remember what the word was. The fragmented areas of these leaves. I really wanted some of that vibrancy back because I had lost so much of it. So you probably should do this before you adhere everything to the card, but I didn't. So, I mean, it worked out okay, I think. I don't know. You guys will have to let me know what you think of how this card kind of turned out in the end, but I did decide to add some more color back on the leaves, and then I'm going to adhere it straight down to the base. They are a bit dry here at this point, so I'm not too concerned with it coming off on my hand, but honestly, they're not perfect regardless, so I'm not really worried about it if some of the ink comes off on my fingers. Not a big deal. Again, if you're ever concerned about alcohol inks, you can get them off with like hand sanitizer or isopropyl rubbing alcohol. So either way, it will come off, and you'll see, Mike, in the pictures, I don't have any of that alcohol ink left in my leaf fragment dies because I cleaned them with both of those things actually. So totally it comes off, so don't ever worry about that. And then I did bring in some pink, fresh silver metallic pearls to pull in a little bit more of that silver color. And then I kind of called this card done. So I like how it turned out. There's a few things I would do different now, knowing what I kind of know based on this card, but I like how it turned out. I would love to know what you guys think of this card. Please let me know. Leave me a comment, leave me a like, and consider subscribing if you haven't already. I do new videos every Monday and Thursday. Thank you so much, guys, and I will see you again very, very soon. Bye-bye for now.